And we are back. Welcome, guys. My name is DK, and in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 4-game NBA DFS slate on Thursday. Good size content is 100K to first. If this is your first time watching, I cover content for NBA, NFL daily fantasy sports, as well as for player props. The sponsor of today's video, that's going to be Underdog Fantasy. Guys, if you're not on Underdog, would highly recommend it. But basically how it works, you're building out slips of player props. All the different sports they offer are up here. And yeah, been making money, having fun on Underdog. So if you guys do want to give it a try, you can use the link down below or the code DKDFS for a $250 deposit match bonus. But yeah, and then if you guys are looking for more content, you can check out my premium linked in the description. That's going to be over on OddShopper. Offer content for daily fantasy sports as well as for player props. Okay, so definitely has some stuff to tilt about here. I feel like every single person that I put in a prize pick slip today got in massive foul trouble, which is very, very annoying. Looks like I'm going to have a pretty good night for straight betting just because Nuke's Drummond rebounds and double-double, and that thankfully hit. But he was also in massive foul trouble, which had me sweating for a little bit there. But yeah, let's go over my lineup tonight. I entered the 888, not going to cash, unfortunately. So originally I did have LaMelo Ball, but then we got that Pelicans news of Zion out, and I pivoted to get DeJounte Murray in. Kelly Oubre did not record a stat basically besides scoring the ball. Yabusele was good. Again, Drummond was in massive foul trouble, had him at relatively low ownership. That really hurt. Aldama was someone I liked a lot as a contrarian play. That worked out. And then the Grizzlies, man. This is what I'm talking about, man. I'm looking over. Okay, so I'm writing the prop thread for tomorrow, right? And I see that Zach Edey, I checked the stats, and I first see that Zach Edey fouled out in 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, Brandon Clark must be absolutely smashing here. Let's go, right? And I look over in a competitive game with like 4 minutes left, and the Grizzlies are closing with Scottie Pippen, Jalen Wells, and Jay Huff. Just think about that for a second, right? Jay Huff is closing a game for the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, just so tilting, man. So that was a recap there for DFS. Sadly did not win the $250,000, but it is what it is. Yeah, let's just get right into the video. So start off here with Boston and Washington. This game definitely has some blowout risk. Now, Boston ran a 9-man rotation last game. Sam Hauser is questionable. Sam Hauser misses. My guess is they probably dust off like Walsh or Shireman or Springer, something like that, throw a few minutes out, or they get to tighten up, go to an 8-man rotation. But I would think they would probably play one of those guys a little bit, especially against Washington, right, in a competitive game. But yeah, starters obviously will be White, Holiday, Brown, Tatum, Horford. You can't go wrong with any of them. I think of the spend-ups, once again, I slightly prefer Tatum to Brown, but both have a high ceiling. With Derek White and Drew Holiday, they look similar plays to me. Al Horford, a pretty good option. Peyton Pritchard's 4.3, so he didn't play a ton in the first half, but he did close the second half. It tilted me because I played him that day, and he shot 1 of 10, which was very annoying because he was closing the ball. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. Nope, just could not hit a shot. But if you think Boston blows out Washington, which is definitely possible, Pritchard would be a guy that will get extended. Again, Cornette and Tillman both kind of played a little bit of the backup 5, 4K for Cornette, 3.6 for Tillman. I would rather go to Cornette. And then Sam Hauser, if he does play, I actually think is a solid play here. How many minutes? I want to say he played decent minutes last game. Let me see. Yeah, 24 minutes. And again, played some in that blowout. But if Hauser does play, I'm definitely intrigued by him for value at 3.9K. Now moving on to Washington. Washington, in my opinion, is probably the worst team in the NBA. I expect the starting lineup to be Poole, Kuzma, Coulibaly for sure. And then they could just go Sarr, JV. They could also start Kispert, maybe over one of the bigs, Sarr/JV. We've seen Sarr start one game at the 5 in the preseason. JV has started a few games. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, the guys leading the way offensively are going to be the two at the top there with Poole and Kuzma. They're both fine, contrarian plays. Obviously, there's a lot of blowout rest in this game, but those are the two going to be leading the way. If JV starts the 5, he would be playable, but I don't love the price point. Koulibaly at 4-2 is probably one of the easier guys to get to for Washington because the price point. So definitely have some interest in Koulibaly. Then I'm expecting like Bub Carrington to be in the rotation. I think you will see some Keyshawn George too. He played well in the preseason. Rashawn Holmes is the guy I'm expecting to play some backup 5. But if you think Washington gets like absolutely destroyed, which is definitely possible, you could look to the 2 rookies, the flatman price, Carrington, George. So yeah, let's move on to San Antonio and Dallas. San Antonio, no Devin Vassell. Starting lineup, they might just go Chris Paul, like a bigger lineup with Chris Paul, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, Stohan, and Wemby. Or they could throw like maybe like a Branham or Champagny in there. I'm a little bit unsure of what the Spurs are going to do with the starting lineup, but top end Wembanyama 10.7K has a massive ceiling. Now they did kind of take it easy on his minutes. They put him on a limit in the preseason, so there's a chance that they kind of ease Wembanyama back into it early on. So that's really the only concern I have with Wembanyama. But the rest of the Spurs, they all look pretty similar here. Like Chris Paul, I expect him to play like high 20s to low 30s minutes. I think he would probably be my next favorite option here. Keldon, Sohan, both reasonable options. Sohan probably a little bit easier to get to a 4-6 as opposed to Keldon at 6-1. Collins will play the backup 5. If you think they, kind of limit Wembanyama, Collins would benefit there. Champagny played very well in the preseason. Wanted to mention him. I do think you'll see some Castle as well in the rotation at 3-8. But let's move on to Dallas. The Dallas starting lineup should be Kyrie or Luka, Kyrie, Clay, PJ, and then one of the bigs, either Gafford or Lively. And then you're probably going to see some Dinwiddie, Hardy, Kleba, and then maybe some Marshall/Grimes off the bench is my kind of expectation for the lineup. Top end, obviously Luka 11-1. If you have the salary for him, he's going to be the do-it-all guy. No issue if you want to spend up for Luka. Kyrie at 7-5. That feels like a pretty good price for Kyrie. So he definitely feels a bit underpriced here. The 2 main Dallas guards think look pretty good. Clay, I mean, it just comes down to can he make a shots. He was pretty brutal for most of the preseason, and then he had one decent half. He's fine for tournaments, but you know the deal with Klay Thompson. Very low floor, but he's not making his shots. The 2 bigs, I think, are a bit underpriced here with Gafford and Lively. Lively 4-7, Gafford 4-5, both decent point per minute. I like them for value. I think PJ's reasonable at 5-1. And then the bench, again, I'm just a little bit unsure of what the minute's going to look like for like Dinwiddie and Hardy and maybe some Grimes or Marshall. I think Kleba might play a little bit. So I don't know exactly what this bench rotation is going to look like for Dallas, which makes them no one I feel great about, but those guys are like playable in tournaments, those bench guys. Minnesota and Sacramento. So Minnesota, pretty easy to talk about. They basically ran an 8-man rotation in the first half until McDaniels got in foul trouble, and then they dusted off Joe Ingles and played him as the 9th guy. But yeah, I think they'll keep with the starting lineup, obviously. So that's going to be Conley, Ant, McDaniels, Randall, Gobert. You're going to see DiVincenzo, NAW, and Naz Reid play off the bench, and then maybe a little bit of Joe Ingles. But yeah, Ant played 40-plus minutes last game. Pretty good matchup here. I like the ceiling quite a bit on Anthony Edwards. The 2 bigs I think are reasonable. Randall and Gobert both played 30-plus minutes last game. 7-8 for Randall, 7-2 for Gobert. I once again like DiVincenzo at 5-2. Had a pretty bad game for playing 32 minutes last time out. He closed over Mike Conley, which I mentioned was a possibility. Conley, I mean, again, they really limited his minutes, only played 20 minutes. I'd rather go to DiVincenzo to similar price. And then Naz Reid had a pretty bad first half. Picked up a little bit there in the second half. I think he's still a decent play here. Probably should play mid-20s minutes. McDaniels, if he avoids foul trouble, should play good minutes, but he is always in foul trouble, and he's just not the best point per minute player. My boy NAW actually had a good game off the bench. I would say a bit of an outlier, but he's still pretty firmly a part of this rotation. All right, Sacramento. So my expectation for the starting lineup for Sacramento is going to be Fox, Herter, DeRozan, Murray, and Sabonis. I think you're going to see Malik Monk on the bench. You're going to see Keon Ellis on the bench. You're going to see Lyles on the bench. Alex Len off the bench as the backup 5. Then probably a little bit of Jordan McLaughlin as a backup point. So they can play 9 to 10 guys here, but even with the addition of DeMar DeRozan, I think a lot of the offense is still going to be run through Fox and Sabonis. 9-5 for Sabonis, 8-5 for Fox. I think if I had to pick between the 2, I'd give the edge slightly to Sabonis, but both I think are firmly in play. DeRozan at 7-8 would probably be my least favorite of the top guys, but not out of play. Keegan Murray, I'd rather play Murray over DeRozan for like over $2,000 in savings. Malik Monk is going to be the sixth man, right? He's going to come off the bench. He's going to chuck. He can play some point guard. He's, always in play. Kevin Huerter was banged up for a lot of the preseason, but I'm expecting him to start. If he does start, he's a reasonable value play. Not really the best point per minute player, but would probably see mid-20s minutes, maybe a little bit more if he plays well. If Huerter struggles, I can go to more Keon Ellis. Again, Trey Lyles is 3.6. I think he's an okay punt. And then Alex Len played well in the preseason, so I wanted to mention him. He should back up Sabonis. Our final game here, I got Oklahoma City and Denver. So Oklahoma City pretty short-handed in the front court. Hartenstein and Jalen Williams, the big, are out. Expecting SGA, Caruso, Dort, J-Dub, and Chet to be the starting five. And then we know Oklahoma City usually runs a pretty deep bench. So you're going to see Dort, or you're going to see a Casey Wallace, you're going to see Joe, you're going to see Wiggins. My expectation is you're going to see Ousmane Dieng as the backup five. And then maybe even a little bit of the rookies. That would be Mitchell and Jones. But yeah, the Thunder could ask Chet to, lean on Chet a little bit more with how shorthanded they are in the front court. So 7-5 for Chet. If he avoids foul trouble, like the ceiling on him. Obviously, SGA is going to be still leading this way offensively. He's going to have the ball in his hands a little bit more with no more Giddey there too. So love the floor plus ceiling in SGA. J-Dub feels a little bit underpriced here at 6.9. Again, we know the offense is kind of run through those top three guys. But looking for the value with Caruso and Dort and Casey Wallace and Joe and Wiggins, I think my preferred option here would be Caruso. Stat sheet stuffer, good defender. He's got shooting guard, small forward eligibility, but you can always, take shots in some cheaper end guys for Oklahoma City, just because, again, they do run a deep bench. And then Ousmane Dieng, 3-1. I just think he's going to play the backup five. They don't really have anyone else. So if Chet gets in foul trouble, a close to min-price Ousmane Dieng might be worth a dart throw in tournaments. And finally, Denver. So Denver, the starting five is going to be Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Jokic. Off the bench, you're going to see Westbrook and Strawther kind of run the second unit. Both played well in the preseason. You're going to see Dario Saric. You're going to see Peyton Watson. And then maybe a little bit of like Hunter Tyson or Zeke Naji. But yeah, Jokic, 11K. Looks great. I mean, he's the do-it-all guy for Denver. Massive floor plus ceiling. Don't think we had to spend a ton of time on Jokic. Jamal Murray was dealing with some injuries in the preseason. His play was a little bit up and down, but the price point does make him viable here at 7.3. He's been pretty inconsistent. Gordon and MPJ, no real strong takes in either of those guys, but I do like the two bench guys here. Westbrook at 5K and then Strawther only 3.2. Strawther averaged almost 20 points per game in the preseason. Again, he is going to chuck, and then Westbrook's also going to be a relative high usage player off the bench. So I like Westbrook at 5K. I like Strawther at 3.2. Dario Saric is a little bit interesting at 4.3. If they don't play Zeke Naji, then Saric should play all the backup five. And if that is the case, then he would look a little bit better. Peyton Watson missed the preseason, but looks like he's full go. He's another guy that is going to be firmly in the rotation. More for defensive purposes. Again, I'd rather get to Strawther at a similar price, but Watson's still a pretty big part of this rotation. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for the video. As always, if you do enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Appreciate it as always. Good luck, and we'll see you in the next video.